This is the second video of showing how to use ITK Snap to analyze whole body mouse MRI data. And at this point, I've made it to the point where we're almost just about ready to segment out the brain using the snake algorithm. So here you can see in the ITK Snap segmentation pipeline, we're at step 3 of 3, or the segmentation step. Before I do that, I'm going to go into set parameters to change the active contour evolution parameters. But before I press that, I want to remind you that what we want to do here is we want the algorithm to fill in the brain for us, basically. Okay, because we don't want to do it manually. It takes a lot of time to do that. So based on these regions that I've already placed, or these bubbles, according to ITK Snap verbiage, we want them to grow. So we want them to grow at a certain speed, and we want them to not go outside the boundary of the brain. So where there are edges, we want them to stay within the brain. So how do we do that? Well, we can set these parameters. So what you see here when I click on this button is a window comes up indicating the snake parameters. There are 3 tabs. The other 2 tabs, I typically stay in the intuitive mode tab. And within that mode, there are 2 selections, balloon force and curvature force. Balloon force is indicating how fast it will expand, how fast the region will expand. You can see by these bars here as I change this. So expanding that's very fast. Contracting, I can actually make the regions contract in, which I don't want in this case. I'm going to set this to about 1.5. Curvature force indicates to what degree, how detailed it will be, how detailed the the search will be. So I want it to be here. Around this number here works well for the brain, at least in this data set. What I mean by well is that this is going to prevent leaking. So you can see here, it even says that here, it may help prevent leaking at corners and narrow places. So, which is exactly what I want this to do. Okay. Okay, so now that those have been set, I can play around with those too. So and we'll do that here as well. Let's go back to set it to something that I don't want. I'll make that really expanding and really spherical, except. Okay, so now that when I'm ready to begin the snake algorithm, I'm going to press, I typically press this button here just to watch it grow. And I don't mess around with the step size. I have before, and the software has stopped working. I'm not sure if that was a direct cause, but after that I just decided to leave that alone. So I'm going to press play and you'll see what happens here. Okay, stop. So that worked pretty well. And there's some bleeding. So here you see the bleeding out in these regions here and here. There. So what I'm going to do is, if I want to reset that, I can just press this button with a double arrow. I'm going to set my parameters. I'm going to bring this down a bit, and I'm going to bring this down quite a bit. So the point right about there. I'll press play again, see what happens. So watch it grow. Press stop. That's not bad. It's still coming outside here. Let's see if we can improve that a little bit. Check the axial. Yeah. Okay, you really want to spend a little bit more. Getting this step is crucial. Optimizing this is important. I know it can appear that you're spending maybe too much time optimizing, or it could feel like you're spending too much time. But the amount of time you're spending here, remember, is going to be minimal compared to having to go through and manually remove the pixels that are not within your region of interest. So it's definitely worth the time and effort you spend on this step. I'm going to slow this down a little bit, and I'm going to bring goes down quite a bit here. 0.36. Let's see how that works. All right, that works a little bit now. It's still bleeding out a lot there. Let's leave it at that point then. Okay, I'm going to reset it again. Parameters. Bring this down. Play it. All right. So again, you can go through that. I want to just stop here just for the interest of time. Okay, so that's done. Now what I need to do is I'm going to finish this. And before I do anything else, I want to save this. I do what I do, but to do that, I click Save as Image. I've already put in test, and I want to save it as a NRRD file format. I'm not sure exactly why that is why we need to set it like that, but that has worked for me. So I click Save, and then if I close out and I want to bring this back in, the same data set with the same segmentation, I can load from image, go to the file name that I saved, and bring it in. Okay, now that I have a label done or a segmentation done, I can also update the mesh here by clicking Update Mesh. See that button was active. And I can zoom in and left click to move the view around. You can play with this. So you can see the brain is, this fair, yeah, it's pretty rough, right? You see how it's rough around the edges. So there's definitely some trimming that I need to do. So I'm going to go back and start that here. So I'm going to pan and zoom appropriately so that I can get a good view of the brain. Okay, now to get rid of some, let's look quickly to get rid of some of these pixels here. I'm going to click on the brush tool. I'm going to click on Clear Label, drawing over all labels. And you see my region is 12 pixels. I can make that bigger. And then when I left click, any pixel in there is going to be removed. So again, I have to go through this manually to remove the pixels that are not in the brain. Now to fill in holes, I want to change my drawing label to brain. I can keep the same size, but typically I'm going to bring it down a little smaller. And everywhere I click, so even if I click in the noise region, I'm going to get red, which I want to remove. Okay, so now I'll click back on brain. And so I'm going to fill these in manually. I'm pressing the left mouse button down. Okay, and I'm going to go through on every plane and make sure that I have the organ or whatever the region I'm interested in covered appropriately. And then when I'm happy with that, if I want to look at it again in 3D as a volume rendering, I can do it again like that. And I recommend highly that as you go through this, every once in a while you can do a save as image, and you can just simply use Control S and it'll save, and just click and you'll have the same file name come up, and you press save. Okay, so that's it. So now when you're ready to go to your next organ, if you're doing whole body imaging or whole body segmentation, you go back to this tool, zoom back out, pan as necessary, and you go back to go to your snake tool, and then now you can just reset the ROI so that it goes over the whole body. If you want to do lungs, for example, you bring the ROI down to the lungs, and you repeat the whole process over again.